In his recent book, Peter Bernard, in a captivating analysis, details the pivotal moment in the history of the Palestinian people: the Zionist expulsion of almost 750,000 Palestinians in 1948, a turning point that allowed the creation of Israel at the cost of extreme injustice to the Palestinians. The following is an excerpt from that writing.
Israel, as the perpetual target of aggression, never its author, frames the Jewish establishment's rendition of Israeli history. The Palestinian refugee issue originated in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, explains the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, America's best-known organization fighting anti-Semitism, when 5 Arab armies invaded the state of Israel just hours after it was established. The moral responsibility is clear. The Palestinians left their homes because Arab nations started a war. Palestinians suffered, but only because Israel was attacked. The problem with this chronology is that between 1/3 and half of the Palestinians departed before May 14, 1948, when Israel declared independence and the Arab governments declared war. By the time the Arab armies attacked, Zionist forces had already largely depopulated Jaffa and Haifa, Palestine's 2 largest cities. The war's most notorious massacre of Palestinians, in which Zionist militias killed more than 100 men, women, and children in the village of Deir Yassin, occurred in April. When Jewish leaders claim the Arab invasions drove Palestinians to leave, they've got the causality reversed. It was not the entry of the Arab armies that caused the exodus. It was the exodus that caused the entry of the Arab armies, concluded the historian Walid Khalidi, after consulting extensive Arab government documents and press reports. A 1948 report by Israel's own intelligence service concluded that Zionist attacks accounted for roughly 70% of the Palestinian departures, while orders from Arab forces accounted for roughly 5%. Despite this, Jewish communal officials still often insist that Arabs, not Zionists, forced the Palestinians out. Nor do they grapple with one last uncomfortable fact. Even if Palestinians did leave because Arab armies attacked, or because Arab governments urged them to, Israel still didn't let them return. The harsh truth is that Zionist forces had to expel large numbers of Palestinians in order to create a Jewish majority state. The pre-war Palestinian population was simply too large. In November 1947, when the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into Jewish and Arab countries, Jews were only 1/3 of the population. Thus, even the state earmarked for Jews, which would have encompassed 55% of mandatory Palestine, would have been almost half Palestinian. Since Jews lived largely in urban areas, Palestinians also owned 80% of the Jewish state's arable land. Zionist leaders knew that a country in which Palestinians were almost half the population and possessed most of the territory wouldn't constitute a genuine Jewish state. Jews would not rule. A month after the UN vote, Ben-Gurion told members of his political party, "Only a state with at least 80% Jews is a viable and stable state." So while Ben-Gurion and the Zionist leadership, unlike their Palestinian and Arab counterparts, accepted the UN partition plan, they also began expelling Palestinians because that was the only way to create a large Jewish majority that occupied most of the land. On this point, Benny Morris, the Israeli historian who gained fame for his research into the Palestinian exodus, has been unusually frank. Ben-Gurion was a transferist, Morris told the Israeli journalist Ari Shavit in a 2004 interview. He understood that there could be no Jewish state with a large and hostile Arab minority in its midst. Perhaps taken aback by Morris's directness, Shavit observed, "I don't hear you condemning him." Indeed, Morris was not. Ben-Gurion was right, Morris continued. If he had not done what he did, a state would not have come into being. That has to be clear. It is impossible to evade. Among the Jewish state's high-profile English-language defenders, Morris is an outlier. a throwback to the early Zionists who bluntly defended Zionist conquest. That's why you won't find him on the ADL or APAC lecture circuit. Their narrative is built on evasion because they know it's not possible in a post-colonial age to acknowledge the truth about why Palestinians became refugees without raising questions about why they and their descendants can't return.